Welcome along to this week's episode of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan and I'm here with Brian and Kevin. Each week we'll be taking a look at some of the endless stream of content that is delivered to us through Netflix, Disney+, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Crave, Spotify, YouTube. Wherever content is delivered to people, we will be watching a chunk of it and we will then be talking about it. As a result, this is a very spoiler-heavy kind of podcast, so if you find us about to talk about a show you haven't seen, be warned, we're going to talk about the show. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast and maybe giving us a follow over on Instagram or Twitter. All of our socials are at The Endless Cast. We are starting with the structure of all of the Marvel shows that are going to get us through this year. So we're going to look at the first episode of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier and Falcon? I got that backwards. Which way is it?
No, right the first
Winter
time.
Soldier.
Falcon and Winter. Falcon and Winter
Soldier.
You got it right the first time.
Yeah.
So we're coming into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier after WandaVision, basically. Like that's what sort of spurred this on. That we sort of spotted the structure of like we can do a brief podcast here and have a chat about week on week episodes, especially as we roll into like Loki and are there any more shows from them this year? Like I know they've got movies slated, but
I think that's it for the shows this year. There's 3 shows. I think Loki's going to be 6 episodes probably, so that will bring us up to mid-June, and then Eternals is supposed to come out November then, I guess. So there'll be a bit of a gap. I'm sure they'll have, then they'll start the hype machine for that. And then, Black Widow might not come out until June anyway, so there'll be kind of something in between that and Eternals, I guess.
Like we had no Marvel content in the year of 2020, the year of our Lord 2020. So everybody was really, I feel like everybody was very, very hyped for WandaVision when it started, and I think the expectations got way blown out of control.
I think so.
Yeah, like fan theories are a bit wild. I personally don't really look into fan theories, to be honest. I just like to watch the show, take it like the universe it's in and just enjoy it. But fans definitely nowadays, I suppose with just like the internet and being able to discuss it and stuff with like-minded people, they go a little bit wild on it. I don't really do it. I thought the Quicksilver thing was worth the payoff for a boner joke.
For a boner joke?
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it, is like people really wanted something to sort of like, because if you think about it, we haven't kind of gone a year without a Marvel product since 2008. When was Iron Man?
Yeah, 2008, I think, yeah.
2008. That's a long goddamn run, and every year we've had something to sort of push the story forward or push the universe on a wee bit. So, especially off the back of Endgame and Far From Home, the John Krasinski Reed Richards thing was, I don't know, it was a runaway wish list. People wanted to see, and then when Monica referred to the aerospace engineer who'd have a real field day building the vehicle to get into the Hex, I think that was a nice, if that was the subtlest of hint at it. People got carried away with themselves thinking he was going to show up in the last 2 episodes.
God, really?
The thing, I followed all the theories and they were fun, but there was no point where I was just like sold on it. I was like, this is kind of fun speculation, but people really read into stuff that just was not there to support it. Like they were talking about like the FBI witness and stuff, and they were like, oh, this is a red herring and this was a misdirect. And it's like, it wasn't. Like that's just but people went fucking bananas.
It's like conspiracy theories, but it's like conspiracy theories in general. It's just like it's never as interesting as it seems. I like the show, but I just, like I said, I don't know. It's like I just don't read into it as much as, I don't, even if I'm I can listen to a hypothetical prediction of how it's going to go or whatever, that's fine. But I don't latch on to anything and, I really hope for that, because I feel that definitely ruins the experience. I'm easy just to sit down and watch it and, whatever they unfold, it's
Well, I
good
think
for
there's
me,
an
you know?
element of like Endgame was so huge, and the concepts that they're dealing with in Endgame were so huge. But we got there through very small incremental change from Iron Man all the way up. So to think that they were going to introduce the X-Men are going to appear, and the Fantastic Four are going to appear, and Captain America might pop up, and like that, all of these things were so hugely going to appear, were like would have been great crack, but they would have been. It would have just been like premature, you know. I can be crass about it, but it would just like blowing their load in a TV series. They're going to slow roll for another decade here, you know.
Yeah, one of my friends was like disgusted that Quicksilver wasn't Quicksilver, and it's just like to be fair though, it's like it's like okay, it's the MCU, so like we know Quicksilver died, you know, and this guy coming in there, I thought it was really cool. I never read much into that he was going to be Quicksilver, really, you know, but it was like why wouldn't you, if you're going to do it, just have that guy in it? Like it was a fun thing to do, you know. But it's like it was never. I just like sure Quicksilver was in a different timeline altogether. As in like even in like the 60s or 70s or whatever he was, or the 80s. I just don't understand how people really thought that was going to tie the X-Men movies into the MCU.
I think it was
really
more
want
that
those
it was
X-Men
going to
movies
be the
tie in.
introduction of the multiverse, because Doctor
The
Strange is
multiverse.
going to
I
be
know,
about that, and Wanda's going to be in it. So it wasn't so much about bringing those characters into that universe. It was just more that here's the first instance that we see of, you know, what the multiverse is. And like they kind of dropped hints about Wanda being, you know, the kind of nexus being or whatever. So I can see how they kind of thought that, but you know, it was also just a kind of a meta gag. It was just like, it was a way to kind of wink at the audience and say like, Wanda doesn't trust this. Wanda didn't do this. It's a way to kind of, you know, let the audience know there's something else afoot here. Be suspicious. Wanda's suspicious. And what better way to do that than have a little meta thing saying, hey, look, we recast, you know, they recast Pietro. And then they even, you know, like they put a hat on it and said, what, they recast Pietro? You know, like, and that was it. But people were like, but like, yeah, people wanted that to be the first instance of
and
the
that
multiverse.
was such a good like even within the framework of the show and the sitcom parodies, and there's pretty heavy sort of Bewitched influence in the sitcom stuff that they do, and like they just recast her husband, like Dick York became Dick Sargent or vice versa. They just swapped out white man at one point and was just like, no one will notice. It's got Dick in his first name. Nobody looks past Dick.
Yeah. But no, I liked it, you know, and like kind of, I was going to say something there, but you know, like kind of, you knew, I think going into it that like kind of it's all in her head, so it's like kind of, you know, nothing, it's almost like any of this stuff is like potential to be not canon, you know, doesn't like it's a good kind of toy box to play in, because you can just do what you want, you know.
The idea that Ultron was going to come back in that other Vision body, like, I hate Ultron as a character, and that's just like, my bias from the comics.
There was nothing to support that either, and like I don't see why they would even do it, because, like, you know, pretty much anything Whedon has touched now has kind of become like Age of Ultron was very much, you know, they handed it over to him because the first film was such a success, but he came in and directed that, like he kind of polished up the script and he added things to it, but the basic outline for the story was it Zach Penn did it, I think?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember, but essentially like there was that story was there kind of before he came and he added his kind of touch to it, but you know, Ultron then was very much a Whedon creation, you know, in terms of like how he's characterized in the film. And it's a bad film. Like there's so much about it is bad, you know. Even like somebody pointed out, like the film should have opened with that scene from WandaVision where, you know, the the apartment is hit by the bomb. It's like, why doesn't Age of Ultron open with that? Like, they've given them this backstory and then they talk about it, and it's such a powerful thing in the TV show, and it's cool that we got to see it in the TV show. But yeah, like the Age of Ultron was kind of a misfire, and why would they revisit it to bring back James Spader, especially when like you've got Spader versus Brolin? They've got like two versions of a CGI villain and an actor, and like Thanos is fucking superb. Like Thanos, everybody was worried that Thanos was going to be like, you know, Steppenwolf, essentially what Steppenwolf is in Justice League, and he's brilliant. And Spader in Age of Ultron is just kind of James Spader doing James Spader. It's like, why would they bring that back? Like, there's nothing to suggest that Ultron's back on the cards, and why would you even want it? Because, like I said, yeah, it's just.
Well, the thing with Ultron is that he, I mean, in the comics anyway. I think I said this to you before. It's why I think I stopped buying Avengers comics after my 6th bloody Return of Ultron story, and it was just like, this fucking robot just sticks himself on a USB, and somebody just boots up a new fucking piece of hardware, and we're never going to be rid of this goddamn robot. And I just got, it just frustrated me with comics. But it's interesting that you bring up the sort of like the opening of Ultron there, because I think that tied in with the end of a series of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I think so.
So you get, there's, I didn't watch it, I might be talking out my ass here, but I have a feeling, if I'm remembering right, that like you get to the end or the climax of the series of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson goes, we found the staff, what do we do now? We call in the big guns, and then you cut to the opening of...
Yeah, and it doesn't work. Like, I remember just when the film started with that scene, and I was just like, this is not how you open a film. Like, you know, you can dive straight into something in, you know, that's already in progress, you know, but the way it happened was just so, there was kind of no build up to it, you know, especially when you compare it to like how the Winter Soldier opened like a year or two before, you know, and they're on the helicarrier, and like there's the briefing about like what the objective is, what they're going in to do or whatever, and instead, like, it's the first time you've seen them together since the previous film, and you just launch straight into it to go up against a bunch of like no context. It's just like, this isn't satisfying.
They're trying to go straight for that big group shot.
Yeah, and it just like, doesn't work at all. It's just, God, I hate that film.
And then that brings me to my next little thing, which is I saw some suggestion. Again, all of my I do a lot of asterisking. All of my notes here are based on half-read headlines and half-gleaned TikToks, where someone suggested any of the TV content outside of Disney Plus is not necessarily canon anymore. They're really grain assaulting anything that happened outside of Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not like, though. The way I've been looking at it since like before they even wrapped up on Netflix was, those shows are set in the MCU, but in the MCU they don't exist. So it's kind of like Daredevil is set in the same universe as, like, it's affected by what happens in the films, but they don't exist in the world of the films, basically. Yeah, you know, and that, like, it's been that way for a while, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But they did a lot of stuff on that Avengers or that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, and we got Peggy Carter, and we got...
The Peggy Carter show is different because it was the two guys behind the Captain America films. So it's very much the writers. So the writers of Civil War and Endgame and Infinity War and First Avenger, they wrote the I'm blanking on her name. They wrote that Agent Carter. They wrote that series, so they were kind of hands-on, and it was a much smaller production as well. I think it was 8 episodes as opposed to like a full season. So it is. I think that one they retained elements of it, you know, as like things like Jarvis. But I think in terms of the plot, it doesn't really factor in, you know.
I actually liked Agent Carter. Thought it was good.
Oh, it was good. Really enjoyed it.
Can't remember what season 2 is. There season 2?
There is, yeah. I enjoyed that as well. Like, there's just been so much stuff at this point. Like, there's are the Runaways MCU?
Nothing's MCU.
There's the
I never watched
Runaways.
actually.
There's Cloak and Dagger, Hellstrom,
The Inhumans.
the Inhumans. Like,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that coming back into the movies.
you see that this is the thing that Wanda kind of allows for here now, because they'll be able to go, all of these things exist in our multiverse.
I don't think they will, to be honest.
No, I don't think
doesn't
they
need
want
them
to.
Like, yeah, like they're, you know, with the exception of like the first season of maybe something like Daredevil or Jessica Jones, they haven't been very good, and there's no reason to kind of keep them
Revisit
around. They can keep the actors. Maybe, you know, there's a rumor that Charlie Cox will be in the next Spider-Man film.
Spider-Man.
Or whether it'll be brought in as, again, a kind of some type of multiverse thing, or whether, like, he might be Matt Murdock, but the TV show might not have happened. But we have all of the background of the character and him playing it to kind of to start from, as opposed to him needing to be introduced from scratch. But like they can kind of cherry pick what stuff they want to keep.
What If show is out this year, isn't it?
Yeah, the animated one. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's going to be this year as well. Actually, I think. Yeah.
Which I guess then brings us around to first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Whole lot of murder. A lot of murder. Lots of dead people.
No more than usual, though.
Really, like, I don't know, like that opening sequence, he like, it's great. It's actually really good. Like,
he's been killing people since they first introduced him. I saw people talking about that and like, oh, you know, he killed someone. It's like, yeah, he's not Batman. They've been killing people since the start. Like, I mean, Cap and the Winter Soldier,
a lot of people in the side of stuff.
You know, straight up murdered plenty of people, like kicking them off the boat and things like that. You know, it's there's plenty of people.
No, I know what you're saying, but it's just kind of like, and like here, look, kind of like, is being killed worse than being like brainwashed and manipulated to live some sort of torturous existence in some person's mental breakdown? And, you know, it's like, I'd probably rather die.
Even superpowered Steve Rogers giving you a front kick to the sternum, I'm
probably
pretty sure that's not great, you know?
Dead.
Yeah. Here, I'm not complaining about it. I enjoyed it, you know. But I know it was cool to watch it. And
was that George St. Pierre in the French stuff?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was Batroc.
Yep.
The Leaper.
It was Batroc the Leaper. Yeah.
Yeah, he was back. But like, I just just to say, like, that opening sequence for me, it's just like, yeah, this is great. Like, this is top quality, like movie stuff on TV, you know. And it's funny because like, it said that to me when I was like 12, that, you know, like, kind of Marvel are going to be huge and they're going to have like, they're going to make TV as good as like your blockbuster movie. I would have been like, no way, Marvel would never be like that popular or that big, you know. And it's just it's taken this kind of long to kind of just be watching a show with that kind of budget. I know there's been shows in the past with it, but it's just like, in terms of comparing it to the movies, it's on par. Like, you know, I loved it.
Well, when we were growing up, it was J.D. Salinger's kid with rubber ears playing Captain America.
Oh yeah.
Was it a kid or a grandson?
I don't know.
The rubber ears is
the rubber ears is brutal. The whole rubber suit was brutal. Wasn't that the one with the Red Skull rat? There was a rat that like they had the Red Skull on.
I'm not sure. I mean, I there was one VHS of that in X-Vision, and I rented it every week for about 8 months.
Yeah, same. I think.
It's like, it's Captain America.
Yeah. There's a scene where, and I think that doesn't that finish? Isn't the final fight in that in Italy or something, or Greece? I can't remember, but
I think so. Yeah.
There's a scene in it where like there's a caged rat, and they're basically talking about like the Germans' kind of effort to create the super serum and stuff. And there's a caged rat in there. I think I could be so wrong. I just remember that like the face of the rat was all messed up, and I was like, is that meant to be like a Red Skull? You know, it was so weird. Great movie though. Great movie. Just as good as the Nick Fury one.
Yeah. The Nick Fury show with Hasselhoff.
Yeah. That was brilliant as well.
That was classic. Yeah. So the Batroc the Leaper, big owl kicks on that guy. You're covering distance when he hits you. Is he super powered?
I don't think so. I mean, I think he probably is in the comics, but he's not in the MCU. No, I don't think so. He's just.
But he must be, because he faced off against Captain America.
Yeah,
didn't
but he
he
lost.
He did. He lost pretty quickly though.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
The
He's like Black Widow kind of power in terms of not super, but like would be above average.
Yeah.
But whoever, and like skipping ahead slightly, the guy in the mask during that robbery sequence, like he was tossing people around.
Yeah.
What did you call him?
Flag Smasher, isn't it?
Have they like?
Yeah, they've named him. Yeah, no, they named him. Yeah,
The group is called the Flag Smashers, but there was a Flag Smasher, I think, in the comics, and he was just kind of like a anti-borders, like he was just kind of like just
globalist
like
or something, is he?
Yeah, kind of anti-capitalism, wasn't he?
I don't remember.
Anti-patriarchy and stuff.
Yeah, they've essentially made it a group instead of being this one guy, and I think it's
okay.
They've changed the name. I can't remember the character's name, but they've changed it so that it's a female, and she's probably the leader of them. But like in terms of the costume and stuff, it's quite different. But I think his name was like Carl something, and the character's name will be Carrie instead. But yeah.
So that was a girl kicking the people's asses.
No, but
okay,
there's an actress who
will be playing,
who has the name of, I think it looks like she's in the scene, but she's wearing the mask, or else they've got the same kind of similar hair. But they didn't focus on her too much, so maybe that's going to be kind of a bit of a reveal in an episode or two. Then that it's a girl. What?
Like what I was trying to sort of get at was, are we going to find out that Batroc is with that group and there's some super serum-y shit going on? Like, is he going to get some?
There's definitely some superpowered stuff, but I don't know if
they're going to Iron Man 3 it.
I don't know if Batroc will be back though. I don't think.
No, he survived, but yeah,
he survived. Yeah.
I reckon he'd be back. To be honest,
he might be. Yeah.
The last time we saw him was a Winter Soldier-based product. What did you think of Sam immediately giving up the shield? Like we see him.
Well, immediately though, he's had it for a while, right? I'd imagine it didn't like how far after the event.
It's 6 months after Endgame, I think.
Is it 6 months? Okay, well,
yeah.
He fairly parted with it pretty fast.
I think that's what the show's going to be about. You know, the fact that, you know, part of it is to do with his own, you know, kind of discomfort with it. And then whether that's kind of an insecurity or whether it's a kind of consciousness of, you know, the state of race relations in America, kind of knowing what the symbol means. And then kind of part of it's just, you know, he thinks it belongs to somebody else. And I think the other part then is race is obviously going to be a big part of the show, and about, you know, not just who should have it, but, you know, wanting to take on the kind of mantle, and then knowing that
everything that goes with it.
Yeah, especially, you know, like it's the show is the show can't possibly ignore the kind of race issue in America right now. It's got to reflect it in some way, and that's like, it might not be the tone in the world of the MCU, but it's very much going to be where I think Sam's head is at, is like, I can't take this, where, you know, knowing how people feel about people with the same skin color as me, you know. I think that's kind of I think it's going to address that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which is good. Yeah, it's good.
And then, like, so it's not US agent. It is,
I think.
He's Captain America. They introduced him as Captain America.
Well, they introduced him as Captain America, but the character he's playing is John
Walker,
Yeah. Doesn't the mask doesn't look great on him. He looks like somebody else.
I wonder, is that kind of deliberate? Like,
he straight looks like Casey Neistat.
Straight away we're kind of supposed to go, no, who's this guy?
Yeah, he reminds me of the guy, you know, in Silicon Valley, you have the guy who, you have the main character, obviously, who's a wreck, and then you have his really uptight kind of PA person. Yeah. He has a look of him in it, and it's so weird, and his ears are all bent in it, and it's just like, like, I hear it, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it's just like, it's obviously not Captain America, and they're not trying to make it Captain America.
He does have, especially with the vibe of that scene, that sort of like, you know, like the theater kid or the Glee Club with like the male cheerleader guy running out to do his bit, where it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this makes sense. Like he's doing the promo, but he's not playing football. He's dancing
He's
on
Captain
the side
America
here.
from Captain America.
from the
first
USO
Avenger.
tour and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it,
Yeah.
and that's cool, and that's kind of my question as well. Is like when we're going to see this unfold, is like, are they using him as the marketing tool again, or are they expecting him to have powers or have a like an active role in military?
I imagine he'll have powers, but then their intention will be that they want to use him the way they intended to use Cap in the first Avenger. So
That was making a shit ton of them, wasn't it? Prototype for dozens.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd imagine they probably did give him powers, and then they kind of want to have him under thumb, basically. I think, but I think it's, if he has powers, I think that story has to connect then in some way to the Flag Smashers and them having powers. Like where's it coming from? Is it? I think in the credits there's a couple of shots in the credits where they're showing the vials of the serum, so I think there's definitely going to be an element of that. And then I don't know if you guys are aware of another actor who's been cast in it. So like it's out there, it's kind of public. They haven't hidden it, but if you're not aware of it yet, maybe you'd prefer to kind of stay in the dark a bit about it.
Leave it vague then. If it's going to be like if it's something that's actually out there and might give something away, let's hold off it. I like our supposition, but not.
It's like it's a piece.
I don't like informed conversation.
It's a piece of casting, and they named who he's playing, and if you know the comics, you know who that character is.
But is it kind of like oh god, I can't think of his name at the moment. He plays Everett in Avengers. Everett. Isn't it Everett? Pretty sure it's Everett. He's like a SHIELD or FBI agent or something, and he's the guy who captures Schmiegel. Martin Freeman. Is that kind of role, or is it a superhero role?
Kind of more superhero role.
Because people thought, what was it, James Spader?
Mm-hmm.
That he was going to be like the Crimson Cowl or something in WandaVision, and he's on their IMDb and everything. And it's just like, I really think that like if enough people get behind, or maybe Brian was saying it, but if enough people get behind something like online, like it kind of like, it just kind of almost like auto generates it, that like, oh yeah, like he's like enough people have said it, he's on IMDb.
If you go to the actual IMDb page, it won't be there, but if you look at
under Google,
the first, it'll
well,
kind of come in the searches.
There's so much room, like whatever they were doing to what's his name, Kowalski, the guy who became the Abomination, like there was definitely some super soldier shit in the MCU government going on there. We've got the post Civil War, like those guys must have got into, remember the dead Winter Soldiers that Zemo killed?
Yes, yep.
You know, like Howard Stark was trying to recreate the super soldier serum there. And we've got the red, white, and black storyline as well, which I don't know if that'll work its way over from the comics, but like the idea that they tested the super soldier serum on black American soldiers
so
before
like
they gave it to a white
you've
guy.
heard of the Tuskegee syphilis study. Yeah. So it's kind of going to reference that, but yeah, it was tested on, essentially there was a black Captain America before Cap, because they tested the serum on black people first, and the series is going to go there.
What do you reckon?
It is it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it would make sense, but like just because we've got the Winter Soldier to tie into it as well, it's like, oh, we could get that element in there also.
Yeah, like I mean, like it's if the show already just on the surface is about a black person taking on the mantle and the symbol and the responsibility, and then especially like we said with the kind of climate, and then when you've got the fact that there is in the comics this question around the serum and the serum being used on black people first, then and then so the fact you've got other people with powers in the present and where they're getting their powers from, and I think it is gonna go there. Like they've already announced an actor, and I'm pretty sure they've announced who he's playing as well, and That's kind of been more or less confirmed. Yeah.
I did hear, like, now again, just you hear stuff online. I did hear though that they're still trying to push the inhuman aspect of is it the Terrigon gas or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. They're still trying to push that. They're still trying to get that into the
Terrigen mists.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something,
They're still trying to get that in the MCU, which is really weird.
Well, I think there's an element of that's an interesting way to get you to mutants as well. So, like, the internet can theorize away on that as well, because their ideas running amok.
I think they're going to do that through Eternals, because Eternals is essentially it's so close to what the Inhumans are, and I don't think we'll see Inhumans not until after X-Men anyway, at least, if it's something that they want to revisit. But I think in the meantime, Eternals is Feige's second shot at doing the Inhumans.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
I think if they bring up the mists in that, then that's your kind of backdoor into it. But I think whatever way they choose to kind of explain the Eternals and their presence, that would probably be, because the thing you got to remember as well is, like, whatever they come up with, for remembering that they always want to be as faithful as they can to the origins, because that's what's keeping the kind of core audience happy. Whatever way they bring mutants in, they've got to allow for Apocalypse being there somewhere in the past, and Apocalypse is essentially there, between who the kind of three biggest villains in the X-Men. Is kind of right up there. Now, I'm not saying they might never go near Apocalypse, but they've got to kind of keep that window open for themselves, and they can't say mutants only existed since the snap or whatever, because then they've no Apocalypse, unless they want to change his backstory dramatically, which isn't what they tend to do with the characters. That what's kept people happy is how faithful they've been for the most part with bringing them to the screen. I
think I could be wrong about the X-Men, and like I might just have a fucking half view of this, but like the thing I think people like about the X-Men is present in those first few years of X-Men comics, and then the comics go off and do whatever they do, but time travel and space shit might be amazing, but it's such a fucking nut, and it's where the minute Bishop appears, the minute Days of Future Past happen, it's great, but it just messes up your timelines, it messes up your continuities, it's just a mess.
Yeah, it's too convoluted.
Let's just keep it simple.
Yeah, kids
X-Men fighting terrorists or something, or like when you think about as well what you're able to achieve with a franchise that you might get 3 films out of, because if you take these gigantic swings,
I don't think they have to be big swings, because like when you look at what they've done, like before any of these films came out, it was like, how are they going to do Thor and sell it, and then how is Thor in the same universe as Iron Man, and then how are they all going to come together in the Avengers? And then they just did, and it just worked, and it had no business working as well as it did, especially when like those 3 films were kind of average enough, and then it was just like, how the fuck did they pull this off? Like, they've got no, like, we kind of forget. And then when the Winter Soldier came out, that was the first time where they successfully kind of said, let's try do a different genre, but also have it be
superhero,
still funny and family friendly and a superhero. And then when that came out, it's like, holy shit, they did it.
They nailed it. Yeah.
People forget it so quickly that it, like, yeah, it's done so much so well. And I think the fact that they've done it already, I don't think anything is really off the table in terms of like how bonkers the X-Men gets. I think there's stories that are just kind of very obviously you just don't go near, because they're messy, and the second you introduce them, you mess it up. But you could absolutely introduce the Shi'ar. Like, we've had the Dark Phoenix twice. No proper Hellfire Club, no Shi'ar Empire. Like, just look at the Starjammers and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, like we've done Guardians. Chris Pratt's moved on. He's governor of fucking California. Like, what do we do next? We do Starjammers. Like, space pirates. It's like it's Guardians, but more bonkers. I
That
think
was
take nothing off the
Scott
table.
Summers' dad's group, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
But
those are
that's-
fantastic.
That's a
Those,
great example of like that's a great example of like it can get so messy, you know, because like
yeah.
how many versions of like there's a couple of Emma Frost's knocking around those X-Men films before they settled on January Jones, and even then I think there's a different one in Days of Future Past or something. Like they get a bit wobbly, especially if we're going to say, okay, Cyclops' dad is out in space.
The mistake they made there is like they didn't follow the source material closely enough. So they were like, oh, we're going to do that story, but we're just going to do our own fucking thing with it. And then they backed themselves into a real fucking corner with the story.
What mutant can we get here?
Whereas like if you say, hey, okay, we're going to have the Hellfire Club as the villains for like, 3 movies, and that's going to launch into this, and that's going to be the stepping stone to that. Like Feige's done very well kind of planning out how to introduce each thing, how to say we're doing this storyline, but we're going to do it, just differently enough to actually make it feasible. But all the stuff that people want to see and expect to see is in there. And like, that's what they've done very well, I think, so far. And I think, yeah, like, the mistake with Days of Future Past was like, let's set it in the 60s or 70s, but then these characters we introduced in First Class are going to stay the same age for the next fucking 4 decades. How does that make any sense? Like, just like made like it was.
It's also the case of like kind of they would have been better building up to Age of Apocalypse and doing that right as opposed to sticking it between 2 movies. It's like they just try. It's like kind of I know I won't go on too much of a tangent, but it's just like I like the Watchmen movie and I think it works because that's when Zack Snyder is kind of reined in and he has to keep to one book. I think people kind of get a little bit confused when there's like so much source material and they're trying to get it all in. It becomes a clusterfuck,
I was thinking about, like, I literally just said I want to bring us back to Winter Soldier here, because we're going off on tangents, but you brought up Snyder, and I was sitting there yesterday thinking about, I was sitting there, because it's on Sky, I was watching the film that we'll talk about at a later date, I've been such an apologist for Zack Snyder on everything he's done in the past because 300 Watchmen,
Dawn of the Dead.
He didn't do anything in those films that I wouldn't have fucking done. Really, you know what I mean? They're just big, bombastic, whatever. I don't even know what to say, but like, I don't fault him on any of those things. It's when we got to Batman versus Superman.
I think it's there in Watchmen, to be honest.
Dawn of Justice.
I think everything wrong with those films, it's all there to see in Watchmen. It's.
But the story's locked in place for him in those things, and I think that it's coming up with anything original is where he's running into fucking trouble. Like Sucker Punch is garbage, and I think. Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, and this Justice League thing. I think these are where we got like what's the scriptwriter on the Justice thing, Chris Terrio.
Yeah.
It's when he's trying to come up with something that isn't really really locked down for him to follow. I mean, the stuff that people like most in Batman vs Superman is the Dark Knight Returns stuff. That's what people reacted to when they announced it. Like he's doing Dark Knight Returns. He does bring comic book stuff well to screen, but it's just
I think he makes a great trailer.
Then he is just
Yeah.
Let's move on then to like the Winter Soldier stuff of this because we talked a lot about Falcon and Cap. What did you think of Sebastian Stan's intro time real estate they gave him in this episode?
I liked it. I think I was a little bit. I was just like maybe I was a little bit disappointed that he ended up like the old man that he goes to dinner with and have lunch with is a father of somebody killed, and I kind of feel like if you're a super killer and even if you're hypnotized and blah blah, like there's a point where you have to draw a line, not get over it, but just understand that like you weren't yourself or those things.
Yeah, but it's 90 years of it, though, like.
I know, like
it's
pretty horrific.
It's the most interesting part about the character, like it's not his skills, it's not his metal arm, it's the fact that he was forced to do these things. Like that's where your story is. It's like he's a hero who's how that's what the story is like how can somebody kind of reconcile that
that's a hell
stuff.
of a 12-step though.
I think that's his own plan.
Like you're making amends to go. You think
It's his own plan. Like she gave him the rules for trying to make amends, but I think it's his own thing that he. But because part of it is to, on the one side it's people who benefited from his actions, and then on the other it's the victims of it. And I think it's him trying to reconcile all of that. But then she gave him those rules for engagement, basically.
He's still. Have we seen his? Oh, we have seen his arm. It's still silver, isn't it?
No, it's the arm he has from. It's kind of black and gold. It's the arm he has from.
Yeah. Oh, is it black and gold? Yeah. Okay, I can't remember. Yeah. No, it's a cool looking arm. But to be honest, like I like it, and I like the way kind of she was just like, "Oh, show me your phone," even though that was probably very unprofessional. But like, show me your phone, and she's like, "Sam texts you, haven't texted him back," and it's kind of like, it's like, I like how it's kind of like it's like they're already setting the dynamic up for it, Like, obviously, we know they're going to come together. Of course they are. But there's still, like, some resentment and hostility. And I'm sure the Winter Soldier isn't going to be impressed if Sam go up the shield, all for some guy just pick it up.
Yeah, I think there was, like... Bucky did not in any way grudge Sam that shield when Cap handed it to him. But I think he'll grudge him giving it away that easy.
Yeah, probably.
Or not like he's going to really fucking be angry at him or begrudge him, but you know what I mean. I think their relationship was always tense, or comedically tense anyway. So for him to go, "You did what?" gives him room to sort of be sniping at each other, do the odd couple bit.
Do you think there's anything to be made of Madripoor being introduced in the series?
Did they say it in the first episode?
They've shown it in the trailers that it's like, it's kind of clear.
Who is it? What's that?
Well, I think you're going to see Patch for sure.
That's the thing, will we?
Imagine. So do you know Madripoor?
No, what's that?
It's like a
it's kind of like Shanghai, Singapore, kind of.
Where am I thinking of? Yeah.
It's a bit of Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai, but it's fictional.
Pushing the sort of pirate village.
You've seen it.
Well. Yeah, that's why they didn't want.
There's been very kind of famous Cap stories set there, but Wolverine is also featured as well. And
okay. It's their
Wolverine sort of. It's kind of got, especially because Cap's involved as well. It's got like a Casablanca vibe thing to it. Like they both spent time there during.
There's a great kind of Cap, Wolverine, Black Widow story set there. It's very kind of iconic Jim Lee one. Yeah, you've probably read it, Kev. It's very good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure I know it. Yeah.
But
what's it called? Madripoor. So it's basically Marvel's.
Madripoor, yeah.
So it's basically Marvel's Shanghai, Singapore mashup.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
I didn't read that era stuff, the Chris Claremont X-Men stuff. I think it's Claremont, and he spent a lot of time with Wolverine there, and there was this old woman that ran a bar, and like she was just trying to, I guess look out for him, and apparently, as far as Claremont was concerned, he was setting her up to be Wolverine's mother. But
he had some bonker ideas for Wolverine.
Was that when Wolverine was Black Crane or something?
Was it Black Korean?
Wasn't he? No, Black Crane. Jesus. No, the Black Crane. Wasn't that something Wolverine had? It was a Chris Claremont did the Future, or he did Days of Future Past and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, but wasn't there some stage where Wolverine kind of like wasn't Wolverine?
He mutated into a man. Yeah, that was where Claremont wanted to go with the character. What? Eventually, he wanted to reveal that he wasn't actually a mutant man. He was a Wolverine that mutated and became this. Yeah. So Wolverine he's not a human mutant. He's a Wolverine mutant. That's where he wanted to go with it.
He is a mutant Wolverine that took the form of a man.
Yeah. Let's say that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an anthropomorphized. I don't know though. Like comics are fun, but like
They're not though.
like Wolverine, Sabretooth, Wildchild, Dakan, Romulus, they're all Lupin. Like, it's the notion that they're a parallel human evolution or parallel humanoid evolution descended from wolves rather than apes. So they're not. That's the current.
Is
canon,
it?
Is those people aren't humans?
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, that's the current canon as I read it. They aren't human mutants. They're the evolutionary path of a canine or wolf.
There's a reason I stopped reading these for a long time.
Yeah, I know.
I am getting kind of like, I'm getting a little self-conscious at this point of my comic book knowledge stopping about 10 years ago, and I'm going, right, I need to read more because I'm losing contact with whatever the hell is going on. Like, they're basically unrecognizable to me at this point.
Well, I won't get into it, but I did read Jupiter's Legacy. I think I was saying it to you guys. I read Jupiter's Legacy, and I do recommend reading it possibly before watching the series in May. But yeah, I definitely am out of touch with comics and the MCU in a sense. However, I think everything they're using is pretty much our generation stuff.
So far, yeah.
It's the most influential
stuff. The generation before us.
Yeah, the generation before us, but like we grew up reading their things, you know.
But the thing is, that's moving on. That's absolutely moving on with Ironheart and
true.
Everything else that's coming down the pipeline. And I want to enjoy that as much as I've enjoyed this stuff. So I feel like I want to go and read a bunch more stuff that I haven't. But it's so easy to, like, you know, once you've spent your childhood and a few years in your 20s reading serialized middle act comics over and over and over again, it's really easy to go, I'm going to read an independent that is 3 volumes and done.
Yeah, I know,
you know?
yeah.
And you kind of go down that.
That's honestly what happened to me with Marvel. I think I was reading at the time I was reading David Fincher's, I always get confused, David Fincher. His
David
run
Finch's
on Moon Knight.
Okay.
And then Captain America came into it. And it was something like kind of, you want to read what happened between this interaction, whatever, you have to pick up Captain America number 2, you know? And it was just like, I'm a broke ass college student. I literally picked like a book that I could read, like say like a single issue type of thing I could read and keep up with, and not have to be involved in the Civil War and all that kind of stuff. And it just bummed me out. I ended up switching over to Dark Horse, reading Hellboy and Lagoon.
That's part of what had me fall off, I think, was, you know, like Spider Island, where everybody got spider powers, and then it was, you know, there was a big X-Men event that was across every book, and then there was a for
me, it was that whole trader storyline. Like, I was reading that for I don't know how many years. It's just like, when are they going to wrap this thing up? You know, just like there's a traitor to the X-Men and they're all going to die, and it was just like, especially as well, like given how young I was when I was reading those kind of stories for the first time. I think it was maybe 12. So like, I didn't really get that there was just these big tentpole stories that, you know, they would just reverse in a year or two. So like when I heard like that. Yeah, you know, there's a storyline in this where they all die. I was like, well, why would they do that? Why would they kill off my favorite things in the world? I'm 12 years old, man. And then that story just dragging on. I was just like, I don't give a fuck now. I just kind of lost interest. There was a part of me as well that was just aware of. It was around the same time, like there was just stories about Marvel going completely bankrupt, and even though I didn't really understand the industry or the kind of, you know, the kind of money behind it, I still kind of had this cynical part where it's just like
money grabbing stuff.
Yeah, this is a mess. You know, like, even though I didn't understand it, I just had a sense that that there isn't a steady hand kind of guiding this stuff. It's just churning stuff out, and
that's another thought that occurred to me with the Justice League movie. But I know I'm going back to this lot, but he had, like, walking through the hallways of the spaceship and all the different suits come out and he has to be in the black suit, and like, I think Zack Snyder makes a film equivalent of the 90s holographic foil covers comic books. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're
selling me on this more. Go on.
Batman has goggles and 4 vehicles and different shoes and different boots, and you've got the walking around Batman and
the Arctic Batman,
like,
the desert Batman. I love it.
So Bucky's story then was, we saw him with his therapist, really weird close-ups? Or did you think that scene was a bit oddly shot? Like that extreme close-ups of the eyes?
I don't think it was weird.
Therapist, Dr. Quinn. Sorry, is his therapist Dr. Quinn medicine woman?
No.
Looks like her.
No, it doesn't.
looks a lot like her.
Jane Seymour.
We should do a podcast about that show.
I can see the resemblance, but it doesn't look like her. But I see what you mean.
That's why I had
I see where you're coming from.
Skinny old white lady.
I think it was just kind of a visual language that, yeah, it's just kind of just to show the tension. Yeah,
he feels trapped, so it's compressed space.
You're not seeing his full self. You're seeing literally one side of him. You know.
I'm just trying to remember what else we had. We had a little flashback of his action, and then he goes on the date. And then the rest of the episode is given over to Sam and his sister.
All right, but hang on. Like, why wasn't Tony Stark bankrolling the Avengers? Why does Sam have to get a bank loan?
Yeah.
What the hell? Tony's a cheapskate.
Plus, if Kylie Jenner can get bloody a GoFundMe started so she can be the youngest self-made millionaire.
Well,
ever.
she's not a billionaire is the thing there, you see. None of these people are billionaires. They're all self-proclaimed billionaires. And
I know.
It's almost like she doesn't actually have all that money at all. And maybe this whole lifestyle she's living is a pretense. No, I get why they had to do that with the story because they want to create that situation, but it's pretty shitty at the same time.
Yeah, when I was thinking that as well, I was thinking like, what is the level of specialization that Sam has here? Because that jetpack, the original illusion was that was part of his team. Like he and his wingman, like this was a squad of people that flew around in these fucking things. But then his is particularly
well. He said wingman. I mean, like
advanced and Stark tech as we go on.
Like they never said explicitly that they were both flying them. He said it was his wingman, and he said, like, I think he said he said something to do with his parachute. Yeah. So they didn't make it clear that the Falcon thing was what he was referring to, or did the Falcon thing come after that or before it, or was he actually talking about that when his wingman died?
So
maybe they'll revisit that in this.
Yeah. Like what I took from it was the sort of implication that this was a kind of a whether or not it was an experimental kind of SAS squad of specialized flyers. It does seem now like if he's the only one doing it, like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong here. Your most extreme military guys, your Navy SEALs, there's good money there, right? They get paid well, don't they?
I don't think so.
Just by the time he's looking for a bank loan for his boat.
I think they work a lot that they
spend all that money training you.
I think they've got to go like private military after that point, and then it's a very different line of work. It's a very shady line of work.
So they spend all that money training you, risk your life.
Well, you see, that's the thing. Like,
you
know, I guess, you know, he's more than his training. He's a hero because of, you know, his values and who he is.
Yeah,
it's not just his skills, you know.
Like the Falcon you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, you know, the Falcon. Like it's like Iron Man. It's like it's not like the suit is Tony Stark, and it's not the weapons or the wings or whatever. It's Sam, and I know it sounds stupid, but I really believe in that. I quite liked. Yep. I always liked the Falcon as a kid growing up, you know, and I know that sounds really weird, but like maybe it's like kind of I probably had fucking low self-esteem or something, but I liked, like I read a lot of Captain America and the Falcon. I liked the Falcon, you know. He wasn't the leading dude, but he was going toe to toe with the leading dude.
Oh, that's great. Look,
and he didn't have to.
There's a lot of those,
you know.
There's a lot of those characters who, like, I didn't necessarily even read a comic book. I had a Top Trumps deck and would just stare at the illustration and go, that is an amazing.
That was my intro to those characters.
Stingray No, is it Stingray?
I think so, yeah.
Stingray, I think.
Yeah.
It's a great looking costume. Yeah. I have no idea what that character ever did. Costume's amazing.
Yeah, fair. But I liked Sam. It's like I know it's like Wonder Man was another one I loved, and it's like no reason why I loved Wonder Man and the Vision back in those days because they weren't particularly like huge characters, you know. but I loved them.
The Gardener, 7'2", overpowered as fuck. You got that card and you won every round. I have never read a comic book with the Gardener in it.
That's hilarious. I don't even remember them.
I remember that he was the fucking get out of jail free top trump card if you got him, because he was going to win.
He could beat
anybody
Galactus
threw at you.
if you played the right category. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Who did those illustrations? I've never been able to find out for certain.
We
did look that up before.
we looked it up loads. Yeah, I found an Instagram that had all of them on it, but I just never said the artist on it.
I think it could have been Basima or Ditko, possibly, or who else? There was one other one.
Not Ditko. I think I have John Byrne in my head for some reason, but I don't. I think you're closer with Basima.
Yeah, not sure.
I'm sure Sam was wishing he held onto that shield though, because that would have fetched a pretty penny if he really wanted that bank loan. That is some collateral to put, like Captain America's vibranium shield. Like the vibranium alone, it's like having a fucking Queen's gold ring. The gold is worth some money, but the history is...
Yeah. But surely, like, he could kind of cash... Like, come on, it's 2021, don't forget, you know? He could, like, to a degree, have some sort of, like, not influencer profile, but definitely some sort of, like, following on social media, like. And if he set up, like, a boat company that, like, you know, the Falcons fried shrimp, it's just like...
I think that's what he's trying to do, basically, but he did, because, you know, a couple of billion people came back all of a sudden, then, you know, it did create this kind of strain. And I think the loan manager says that, you know, under the old rules you would have gotten this, but things are tighter now because a load of people came back out of nowhere. So
yeah, it's like all of a sudden, like,
and that'll probably relate to the kind of flag smashes, because, you know, they think that things were better. Yeah,
world was better without it. Yeah, I mean, it would be. Yikes, but...
So we're just coming up to an hour here, and I think that's a good way to...
I do want to say one thing, or kind of pose one more question.
If Brian's saying something, I'm going to say
can't.
something. Go on, Brian.
Say
I was going to say hello to my mom. Hi, ma'am.
Weekly releases as opposed to all at once. I think it works better for Falcon and Winter Soldier. The episodes are a bit longer, but it didn't work for WandaVision for me. Like, the episodes are quite short, fun, but...
Yeah, they're trying to fit that...
Yeah, but it just...
That format.
The 30 minutes of content, 7 minutes
like
of credits?
there's a couple of episodes of... There's a couple of episodes of
crazy.
WandaVision are 20 minutes, basically. I think we...
I was going to say, because I think 22 minutes is the average length. I could be wrong, but...
And that's the thing, like... I think they could have done the whole TV format thing. Like, there's no reason for it to be in 4:3. You know, they could have just had it at the start in 4:3 and then expanded out, and then the characters in the real world are watching it in 4:3 on the TV. But there's no reason to do it for 3 or 4 episodes. You know, it's like once you do it once, you don't need to see it every other episode. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like, there's no benefit from continuing to do it past the first episode, and even then I don't think you need to go to the end of the episode. And I think I get it was a gag that had its kind of thing once. I didn't mind it. I don't mind it because I understand that, like, feck it, it's the type of show it is. But I didn't mind it at the time, but I just think those are a couple of things I would have changed. I would have, like, maybe removed that and then have a few episodes run together as one episode, rather than, like, I don't think the 20-minute thing was necessarily to fit the sitcom format. I think it was more that they were spreading it out over that many episodes, you know? So I'm glad to see that, you know, I'd still prefer to watch everything kind of all at once. But yeah, I think the first episode of Falcon anyway was 40 minutes or thereabouts. So I'm assuming the rest of them will be that length too. But yeah, it didn't work for me. Like, I enjoyed the episodes, but I'm also much more likely to rewatch the Falcon and the Winter Soldier because it's a bit longer, and I'm kind of like, maybe this is something I missed. But, you know, in WandaVision the episode's 20 minutes long. It's like, no, it's all in there. I didn't miss anything, you know. Don't need to watch it again.
I watched WandaVision, as you know, kind of just in one sitting, and I loved it. But saying that, I completely, because I know what I'm like myself anyways, but I know if I had to watch that week by week, I would have found it so infuriating.
That was all.
Well, there you go. That's about an hour of the lock-in podcast with Falcon and Winter Soldier season. Let's come back next Saturday. Might be better again next week. After we've all had a chance to watch episode 2.
Saturday this week.
As we roll into our second year of lockdown, all of our media will be...
I've never heard him refer
consumed
to like
through
that
Disney
before.
Plus.
Why did you do that to me? You're a disgusting
The
person.
last film I saw in the cinema was TeneT.
It wasn't very
good.
good, really. Now that we've had time to think about it, it's kind of bad, wasn't it?
No,
It
I
was
didn't
bad.
like it from day
no,
one.
No,
when
no,
I
neither
said
did
it.
I. But it was just,
Yeah, I
just
said
like,
it.
just the more I think about it, it's just like, God, that was bad. That was properly bad.
Waste
bad.
of time, nonsense. Yeah.
That whole bit,
also,
that whole
I
bit
was
with the
gonna say-
fire trucks in the middle, it's just like, this looks
What's
crap.
this? And
It doesn't look good. It's boring location. Like, just like, whose idea was this?
Driving
This is
backwards.
awful. Just, God, that was a bad film. That was a bad film. He's an overrated director. He's Zack Snyder with a British accent. Let's just put it out there. And he's not even British. He's American. Come on. For God's sake. Grow up.